again, a balanced system, I like to take it from
The subject is how to design a balanced material handling system, and my guest today is Larry Boroff. He is Director of Automation Systems Engineering with Forte. Larry, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What are some of the main areas of consideration when you're approaching the design of an automated material handling system?
Well, so typically you have to take a holistic approach and look at it from the entire system, from beginning to end, from receiving through shipping and onto the trucks and out of the trucks, all at the same time. I like to put myself in through the whole process in the position of the customer, because ultimately the customer's requirements from an operations standpoint oftentimes dictate how the system is designed and may go against typical material handling type of applications. So my goal is to put myself in their place, utilize my experience both from an operations perspective as well as a material handling design and engineering perspective to understand what their requirements might be, what type of products and industries that they might serve, because that will help drive what the end solution would be.
Well, ultimately, it's all about customer requirements, right? But how do you actually pinpoint what those requirements are?
In a nutshell, you've got to spend a lot of time with the customer. You've got to make the investment up front in time to understand their requirements, and then they ask the right questions. Hopefully I've got enough experience in their area of industry that I can ask the right questions. I can be brief, be planned, detail oriented, and get to the heart of the subject quickly, because if I'm not detailed and really ready for that customer, then oftentimes they won't see the value in what spending the time with me might bring about.
But budget, ROI, scalability, I mean, this seems like a lot to get your arms around.
Yes, and you have to look at it from all of those. If I come in just from the perspective of the budget, then that's going to put me into a position where I may not see some of the requirements as far as operational considerations. If they have any returns requirements that may take special care to make sure that we're planning for those, that may affect the total system as a whole and might not allow me to achieve a balanced system in the end. So I really have to understand the ins and outs and the minute details of their operations.
Yeah. Give me some examples of how the design of a DC can actually be created in such a way as to meet a customer's throughput requirements.
Okay, so again, a balanced system, I like to take it from beginning to end. So on receiving, I might be concerned with how the trucks come in, how many doors they have, how they're receiving it. And then the receiving process typically puts it into either storage, returns, or replenishment of the system. And so I have to balance my receiving for what times of the day the system needs to be replenished, which gets balanced by the times that it gets picking, so that my replenishment, so that I have enough product on hand for the pickers to pick the right amount of equipment or product, and not have bottlenecks added to the system where they run out of product on the shelves and they're waiting for others to bring product. From picking, I might look at if they have a packing operation or how they're picking it. Can I optimize the picking operation using other technologies, whether it's pick to cart, batch picking, order picking. If I need to get it over to a packing operation, is it based on a peak or seasonality? Do I need to do any other value-added services or gift wrapping, items of that'll affect the peak through there, and then move into shipping it out the door, because each area of focus or each processing area will ultimately affect downstream and upstream operations, and I don't want to bottleneck either one if my replenishment comes in at the same time as my picking and I'm utilizing the same conveyor to handle both of those operations.
Are you basing it on average shipping volume or peak shipping requirements?
I'm looking at it from both perspectives. So all customers are going to have different peak requirements. It may be time of year. For instance, a retail customer, their whole season may be at the end of the year near Christmas, and that is their prime time, and they need to get product out the door, and it's much higher. But there might be other times where they're rolling out the launch of a new product that they have high demands in the springtime, in the summer, in the fall, and have to balance those times as well. And it may affect, it may touch different processing areas or operational areas within the facility at the same time. A couple of the things that I really want to stress with the customer is, what are they considering throughput? Are they looking at it from a holistic approach? Are they just looking at machine rate? I want to make sure that they understand machine rate is different from actual sustained rate in a system. I can design a system where the shipping sorter may do 200 cartons a minute or what have you, but if I can't sustain that because a truck turn takes a lot longer for customer A than customer B, or I only have 2 dock doors with which to send the product, then it can bottleneck the system when that truck becomes full and they have to change out another truck. I no longer may be able to ship product down the downline and get it to the truck, so that stops everything upstream, which will then potentially affect packing operations and could affect picking operations. And so that's why you have to look at it from the holistic approach of truly balancing the system.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a big issue in terms of balancing the operational areas of the DC and specific material handling capabilities, isn't there?
That's correct. That's correct. So there's a number of ways you can design a system. You can use different equipments. There's not one set way. Each customer will be different based on budget, scalability. Future scalability is a big item that everybody needs to plan for to meet the customer's growing needs and get them to a certain point before they outgrow their existing facility.
Yeah. How do you test that a system is functional prior to installation?
So we utilize simulation. Basically, we're taking the customer's actual data and the plan for growth and needs, and we'll put it into a computer simulation and test the scenarios, test the current design. We'll test it for average volume and what happens, the peaks during the year and the peak throughput times, to check the system to make sure it can handle the throughput, to identify if there's any bottlenecks, where they might come from, and then ultimately that'll help drive to determine if we've truly got a balanced system or not. And from there we will also take and run the software so that with additional scenarios to understand at what point that system will break and how far down the line we can project the customer being able to manage with the design as it's in place.
Well, Larry, thank you so much for helping to take us through some of the fundamentals of creating a balanced material handling system. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Larry Boroff of Forte. Thank you very much for watching.